Hey everyone, it's Kute here, sending you much love wherever you're watching this short video blog right now. I want to talk today a little bit about how do you shift and change your bad or your negative karma and bring yourself back into the flow. We've all faced times in our lives where perhaps you feel stuck. We've all faced moments in our life where things aren't blossoming, things aren't growing. Everything seems to be a struggle or a grind, or relationships are filled with conflict. It feels like our karma is off. Everything is negatively not synchronizing and expanding and is not flowing in our lives, right? So we've all faced those moments. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to be stagnant or stuck. So how do you change your negative karma, your bad karma? Karma is really the law of cause and effect. What you put out, you sow seeds in the universe. What you put out will come back to you. Sometimes what you put out into the universe doesn't come back to you from the exact same person or the exact same situation. But rest assured, you can't cheat the universe. It will come back to you like a boomerang. Be careful. It's not just the actions. You don't just experience the impact of the actions that you take, but also the thoughts that you think. So if you're thinking negative thoughts about someone, if you're thinking bad thoughts about someone, this is energy that you're putting out into the universe, that you will face a certain karmic impact, right, of what you're putting out. What you put out will come back to you. So if you look at your life right now, what does your life right now show you about the actions, show you about the seeds that you've planted in your past? What you are experiencing in your life right now is the effect of causes, of actions that you've taken a day, a week, a month, a year, 10 years, however long ago. So I remember, many years ago when I first came to the US, I had no money. And I remember when I bought my first car, I'm not proud of this, but I literally hit someone. And because I had no money, I was a little afraid. It was a small dent, and I figured, it's a small dent, no one's going to realize. And I drove off because I was in such scarcity and such fear. This is when I first just came to the US. I was in such scarcity that I didn't want to take responsibility. So I drove off, figuring I got away with it, figuring no one saw it. There was only a small dent, big deal. Years later, it must have been 8 years later, my life had shifted radically. I was in a different position. I remember being on the freeway. Someone rear-ended me quite heavily, and we stopped. We exchanged driver's licenses. This person promised me, seemed like a great guy. He promised me that he would handle it. We didn't need to go through the insurance. I trusted him. And sure enough, I couldn't get a hold of this guy for literally 2 to 3 months. Eventually, I was so frustrated. And in the moment of being frustrated and feeling like a victim for my bad luck, my bad karma, so to speak, I had this epiphany. I remembered that moment, 8 years before when I first came to the US. I remember that moment when I kind of hit someone left a little ding on their car and took off. And I had this moment, this light bulb went off, that what I was experiencing in that moment was actually the effect of the energy that I put out, which was I hit someone, I didn't take responsibility, I was out of integrity, and it was coming. This experience in my life was coming back to me full circle so I could actually face the consequences of my own actions. We are always facing the consequences of our actions. There's the actions that you take now, the thoughts you think, the actions that you take now that will go forward to sculpt your future. You are facing the karma that you experience in your life is created by the actions that you've taken 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. Every element and aspect of your life is totally interconnected. So to shift your karma, it doesn't work just to pray or meditate. To shift your karma, number one, you have to realize the interconnectedness of your entire life as a whole. Your life as a whole doesn't exist as a series of isolated events, but an interconnected stream of events that have an impact. Number two, if you want to shift your karma, you must be willing to take full responsibility for yourself, for your life, for the result in your life, for where you are in your life in this moment, for your current situation. We have a tendency when we're faced with negative karma or a challenging situation to be like, oh my God, why me? Why is this happening to me? We have a tendency to go into being a victim. Being a victim is really just kind of abdicating responsibility and thinking we are just at the effect of life. But the experiences that you are having right now, we have put into motion by the actions we've taken. So to actually be able to shift your negative karma requires the second thing, to take full responsibility. The willingness to take full responsibility, to give up blame, to give up victimhood, and to recognize I am in this situation because there's certain actions I have sown 5, 10, 15, a day ago, whenever it is. I am in this situation because of certain actions I have put out into the universe. Certain thoughts I've also thought that I've put out into the universe are coming back to me in the form of this situation. And when you take responsibility, look at your situation. And rather than saying, well, why is this happening to me? Ask, why is this happening to me? And look at your life. Look at the trajectory of your past. Look at where and how you took actions that actually co-created the situation you are currently in right now. You will likely see, if you're honest, a connection. Responsibility is the key to shifting your bad karma. When you take responsibility for where you are at now, then you have the power to take actions to shift your situation. Then I would also say it's important that you feel the impact, to allow yourself to be touched and feel the impact of the actions that you took in the past and the impact it's had on the lives of those around you. To allow yourself to feel, whether it's guilt, whether it's remorse, don't disconnect from these so-called negative feelings. Allow it to touch you, because you're feeling, misaligned, you're feeling uncomfortable, you're feeling something's off, not great, for a reason. Sometimes the feeling of guilt can be a healthy feeling if felt with awareness. If felt with awareness and felt responsibly. So feel the impact of the actions that you've taken and the impact it's had on people's lives. Next, make amends. By making amends, you can seek out people in your life. Seek out people that your actions from the past have impacted, and speak to them, take responsibility, acknowledge what you've done, and ask for forgiveness. This also begins to shift your energy. This also begins to facilitate a healing for you and for them. When you know that you've done things in your life that have been a little off, maybe you didn't know, but as you become aware and you start becoming conscious of the fact that you've done things in your life that were, at least at that time, less conscious, out of integrity, as you become aware of that, then you have a responsibility to shift. You have a responsibility to take responsibility. And so make amends, ask for forgiveness, not just of them, but also give yourself the forgiveness. It's by giving yourself the forgiveness you set yourself free. Many times we carry guilt and shame way longer than is necessary. We carry guilt and shame because of actions we've done, and we feel disconnected, we feel out of a line, we don't feel good inside of ourselves, and that negative energy is what moves us out of the flow. We often beat ourselves up and punish ourselves for what we've done in the past. So by acknowledging, feeling, making amends, taking responsibility, you can release the shame, the guilt, the pain that you've been carrying. Let it go. Otherwise, sometimes we will unconsciously, right? Maybe you've had this experience. You will unconsciously sabotage your success, sabotage the good things in your life, because the guilt or the shame or the self-hatred you might be carrying inside eats you up. And as a result, you don't allow yourself to be happy. You don't allow yourself to be free, happy, joyous, and thrive. So it's important then that you forgive yourself. Lastly, take specific actions that are different. You did what you did in the past because that was the best you knew how to do at that time. You did what you did in the past because that was the level of consciousness from which you were able to view life, and that was the perspective you had based on that level of consciousness at that time. But now you know better. You have a responsibility to do better. Responsibility is power. Responsibility and awareness then life now requires more of you. So what's necessary to shift your karma doesn't just, it's not enough just to meditate, just to have awareness. It requires action. Not the same action, because the same action will only lead to the same results, but what it requires are different actions. So what different actions, now that you know better, now that you're more conscious, you're more awake, you're more aware, what different actions will you take in your life so that you don't repeat the same mistakes? So that you can be more loving, so that you can be more conscious, so that you can be more compassionate, so that you can live in more integrity in your life. When you do this, you bring yourself into the flow. When you live in integrity, you bring yourself into alignment. And when you are in alignment, you will bring yourself into the flow of life, and life begins to unfold. Your relationships blossom because you feel good about yourself. Life unfolds. Abundance starts flowing because you feel more abundant inside of yourself. And so to shift your negative or bad karma requires taking full responsibility, and when you do so, you set yourself free.